I started playing guitar in the 60s, and Gibson guitars were always just out of reach. I could somehow manage to scrape together enough cash from my paper route to get a Fender, but wait, never mind. I just realized I lost anyone younger than 50 years old with a mention of my paper route. Anyway, a Gibson back then was definitely not in my budget. Back then, a Melody Maker was the least expensive Gibson, but if you were into cars and surfing, it wasn't as cool as a Fender. So my first electric guitar was a Fender Mustang. And oh yeah, the Mustang had more switches on it. Nowadays, Gibson's making a few more affordable guitars. For $8.99, not exactly cheap, you can buy a Les Paul Jr. Tribute double cutaway. By shaving a few steps off the finishing process, Gibson has managed to come up with a dynamite guitar and keep the price tag under $1,000. The Gibson Les Paul Jr. double cutaway is a made-in-America real Gibson solid body guitar with one P90 pickup. It has a maple neck with a rosewood fretboard, acrylic dot markers, and medium jumbo frets. The volume and tone controls are CTS pots with black top hat knobs and a Switchcraft input jack. It has a 5-ply black pickguard and comes with 10-gauge strings. I love the Gibson SG for the access to the upper frets, but I like the shape of the Les Paul double cutaway even more. The Gibson Les Paul Jr. is one of the most basic guitars you can get. One pickup, one volume, and one tone. That's it. For me, that's enough. So this was my first guitar with P90 pickups, or shall I say a P90 pickup, and I really wasn't quite sure what to expect. First, let me tell you what I love about this guitar. It's super lightweight. I don't know if I just happened to get a really light one, but mine is just over 6 pounds. Let's face it, there isn't much on this guitar that weighs a lot. The lightweight makes it a real joy to throw over my shoulder, and I've noticed as I get older, weight seems to become more of a factor, and I seem to grab my lightest guitars first. The second thing I love about this guitar is the access to the high frets. When I want to solo in the upper register, this guitar makes it super easy. The neck on the double cutaway Tribute is maple, which is a little different for Gibson. Normally most Gibson necks are made of mahogany. Maple is a renewable wood, and luckily we now have plenty of maple. It's a good thing because maple is a great wood for strength. It's extremely hard and a great choice for a neck. I'm surprised Gibson hasn't made more maple neck guitars. It does have a different look though. The maple wood grain and hardness make a notable difference in the neck finish. The maple seems like it doesn't take the cherry stain the same way the mahogany does. So it's a slightly lighter color of red and doesn't match as well as a mahogany neck would. It's great to see that Gibson is still using rosewood on the fretboard. When a lot of companies have gone to woods like Palfaro, Gibson is still using rosewood. I'm all about saving our precious forests, but I'm glad to see that Gibson still has enough stock to build rosewood fretboards. Having a strong wood for the neck on this guitar is also important because there's not a lot holding the neck to the guitar. The tenon joint where the neck attaches to the guitar is not a long tenon, which is disappointing because since there's only one bridge pickup, there's plenty of room in the neck position for a long tenon to attach the neck. But it turns out that the body on the Junior and the Special are constructed exactly the same, with routing for the bridge and the neck pickup in both. So this is great if you ever want to add a neck pickup and make it like a Les Paul Special because the hole is already there and it's ready to go. But for the integrity and the strength of the guitar, it would have been nice if the Junior model had a long tenon joint. Let's put it this way, I'm really careful about leaning this guitar against the amp during the break. My favorite thing about this guitar is the sound. I have other guitars with P90 pickups now, but for some reason, this one really nails the heavyweight, fat, single-coil thong and chang. Yep, it's bigger than twang, it's thong and chang. It's got it in spades. Fat, beefy thong and chang for days. The sound has inspired me on so many occasions, it just jumps out of the mix. You can play clean single lines and it stands out bold and proud. I love the sound. Okay, so let's get to what I don't like. The neck is unbound for obvious cost reasons, and the guitar came a little rough from the factory. I felt like they don't take a lot of time to finish off the frets and the fret ends. Since there's no binding, the fret end finish is really important to the feel of the guitar. Bending the strings, I could also feel that the top of the frets were not silky smooth either. I've got a bit of experience in screwing up fretwork, so I attempted to smooth it out myself. It came out okay. A luthier could have done a much better job, but I'm cheap and I had a file, so I got it done. You might have better luck than me and get a guitar that's finished much better than mine, but just be aware, in order to keep the price down, I'm guessing Gibson does not spend as much time in the finish process on these guitars. The nut on this guitar is made of Graphtec, and it was cut correctly. The neck profile is a slim taper with a 12-inch radius and 22 frets. It's fast and easy to get around on, and the access to the upper frets is fantastic. So this brings me to the finish. The finish is a satin nitrocellulose lacquer, and mine is the worn cherry color. The Tribute Double Cutaway comes in worn cherry, worn brown, worn ebony, and blue stain. The satin nitrocellulose finish would not be my first choice for a guitar. I would prefer a gloss finish simply because it protects the guitar more. And the satin finish, although it looks beautiful, is a thinner finish, and it's not really going to stand up to any kind of rough treatment. So if you happen to bump the guitar or set it down the wrong way, it's probably going to leave a mark. And the satin finish is actually rougher. You can see the texture of the wood through the finish. And you feel the texture of the wood when you're holding the guitar. I guess I'm just not that crazy about the open grain feel of the wood. Again, I know Gibson has to cut corners somewhere to keep the price point affordable, but for me, I like to see the wood grain, but I don't want to feel the wood grain in the finish. I know some players love this and they prefer less lacquer on the finish of the guitar, so I'll just shut up about the finish. The body is mahogany, but it's not one piece. I guess really I can't expect it to be for the price. My guitar is actually 3 pieces of mahogany glued together. I know from comments I've received in the past, when I talk about the wood of the guitar making a difference in the sound, a lot of people think it's a bunch of malarkey. Okay, if you're playing a drinking game now, take a shot. Call me crazy, but I like having a solid piece of wood for the body. And just be aware that the Tribute doesn't have that. I don't feel it makes a big difference aesthetically or structurally, but it just would be nice if it was a single piece of mahogany. Just saying. On Gibson's more expensive higher-end double cutaway models, the routing cutouts for the controls are cut from the back of the guitar. On the Tribute model, the cutouts are done from the top, and there's a fair amount of wood that's removed for the controls and the pickups. Heck, it's almost like weight relief. This also means they had to make a bigger pick guard, large enough to cover the holes in the top of the guitar from the routing. I would prefer the routing be done from the back and have a smaller pick guard like the more expensive double cutaway models, but again, this isn't a deal breaker. By the way, the early versions of this guitar had the input jack mounted to the face of the pick guard. On the later versions, they moved the input jack to the side of the guitar like mine, which I like better. The bridge on this guitar is a compensated or lightning bar wraparound tailpiece. I really like the simple wraparound tailpiece design because I feel it transfers the string vibration to the body better, and I think it gives you better sustain. What I don't like is the limitations on the bridge height adjustment. The setup on this guitar from the factory was okay, but I wanted to lower it a bit. Unfortunately, I couldn't. Why? Because the design of this guitar limits the amount of travel on the stop bar bridge adjustment. The neck is set so low on the body, there's very little space to lower the bridge in the action. My bridge is as low as it can go and bottomed out on the body, and still I would prefer it a little lower. I also noticed that the bridge doesn't fit tight to the bridge pins, and the string pull tilts the bridge slightly upward, which contributes to the extra height. I tried to shim it flat with a cutout of a plastic pick, and it helped straighten it out somewhat, but a better solution would be a low-profile replacement bridge. There's several companies that make low-profile stop bar tailpiece bridges, and some even have individual bridge saddles. I haven't tried one yet, but it might be the best solution. I just like keeping the guitar as stock as possible, but in this case, I think eventually I might replace the bridge. The white button tuners are okay. I prefer the Keystone style Gibson tuners, but it's not true to this guitar and it would change the look, so I'm keeping the stock tuners. They work fine. Lastly, it doesn't come with a case, but it does come with the most gigantic gig bag I've ever seen. I guess Gibson just decided it would make one gig bag that would fit everything in their line, from a ukulele to a Firebird bass. So if you're backpacking with your guitar and you don't have a sleeping bag, you just might be okay with your Gibson gig bag to sleep in. One more thing I like about this guitar is Gibson includes a picture in the case candy, or bag candy rather, of your guitar on the final inspection tech bench. This just personalizes the guitar a bit, and it's a nice touch. Anything that connects me with the manufacturer in this big box world is a welcome treat. So what do I think about this guitar? Well, I've had mine now for almost a year, and the honeymoon is long over, but yes, I still like this guitar. It won't turn any heads, and it's not the best finished guitar I own, but it fills an important part of my guitar soundscape. Sorry, did I say soundscape? Okay, whatever. Even though this is not really an inexpensive guitar, I still feel like you're getting your money's worth with the Gibson Les Paul Jr. Tribute Double Cutaway. I also have a regular Les Paul Tribute, and it's a great guitar for the money too. I like the Tribute series. I think Gibson hit a happy medium between cost and quality and bang for your buck. When I'm recording and I start putting guitar tracks down, this guitar is usually the first one I pick up. Okay, it is lighter, I admit that, but I love the sound of this guitar. The feel is okay. I can live with a slightly less than perfect feel for a great sound, and this guitar delivers on sound, and that's the bottom line. So that's it. I hope you got some information from this video, and maybe a little entertainment too. Thanks for watching, and please leave me comments. I try to answer them all. And oh yeah, please subscribe.